I think this problem needs its own little set of instructions here. Set up the same way, a lot of parentheses, a lot of hoopla, but you take 3 to the 4th power and set it equal to that. That's 3 to the 4th equals x minus 1 squared. And we'll deal with that in a second. I'm going to deal with this first. This is 81. And I guess technically you can take the square root of both sides. That might be an interesting thing to look at. Interesting. But you'd only end up with a whole number. Well, that's an interesting. We'll come back to that. If you FOIL this, and to remind you about FOIL, let me go up here where I've got some space. X minus 1 times x minus 1. That's what x minus 1 squared means. And to FOIL it, you're going to end up with 4 terms temporarily that become 3 terms. X times x is x squared. Minus 1, the inner one is another minus 1, x. Lastly, you get a plus 1 without an x. But those give you 2 x's. So this can simplify to be x squared minus 2x plus 1. But now if you subtract that from both sides, subtract the 81, you get a 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 80. So now you're looking for 2 numbers that multiply together to get negative 80, but add together to get negative 2. Well, that actually happens to work out to be x minus 10 and x plus 8. There's your negative 80, and 8 minus 10 is negative 2. So it's still equal to 0. Your 0 product property still applies. X equals 10 if we change the sign, and x equals negative 8 if I subtract 8 from both sides. Let me go back to this step here. If from this step right there I decided to take the square root of both sides to get rid of this square here. Square root, that leaves me with an x minus 1 without the radical. And over here, the square root of x of 3 to the 4th power, well, this is a 1/2 power, so you cut that 4 in half, you got a 3 squared, but it needs to be a plus or minus. You need to keep track of the fact that when you solve for x by taking square roots, you need to consider a positive negative version. That's a positive or negative 9. You add 1 to a positive and a negative 9. Add 1 to a positive 9, you get 10. Add 1 to a negative 9, you get negative 8. So there was a couple ways of looking at that problem.